¿Cómo saber si una persona tiene rasgos narcisistas en su carta natal? De esto vamos a hablar en este video, en este jugo cósmico. Y la razón por la que he decidido hacer este video con la ayuda de un experto es porque varios astrólogos han comentado que el 2023 es el año de las relaciones. Hemos estado ya hablando de las relaciones en el canal y la razón se debe a que los nodos lunares van a cambiar de signo, van a entrar al eje Aries Libra, que es el eje de las relaciones. Por otro lado, también Venus, el planeta de las relaciones, va a retrogradar en Leo durante todo el verano y también Júpiter va a hacer su ingreso a Tauro. Y con el único objetivo de forjar relaciones más sanas, vamos a hablar con un experto. Su nombre es Viktor, un excelente astrólogo y maestro del cual he aprendido muchísimo. Nos va a explicar qué onda con las personas narcisistas, cómo podemos ver algunos rasgos característicos de una persona narcisista, ya sea que sea tu pareja, un amigo, tu jefe. También vamos a estar hablando sobre algunas celebridades con rasgos narcisistas. Vamos a analizar brevemente la carta natal de Meghan Markle, la esposa de Harry, el príncipe de, ya no sé qué título tienen, pero bueno, él, vamos a analizar a Meghan, vamos a ver si es cierto que ella tiene alguna personalidad, algunos rasgos narcisistas o no, y también vamos a estar hablando de por qué el 2022 fue caracterizado como el año de los narcisistas según la revista Político Magazine en Estados Unidos. Y la astrología, tu carta natal o la carta natal de estas personas nos puede ayudar a identificar estos rasgos, como siempre, con el fin de ser mejores personas y forjar mejores relaciones. Mi nombre es Mai y bienvenido a Naranja Asteroide, tu jugo cósmico. Este video va a ser en inglés y para agregar subtítulos a este video, subtítulos en español, porque es un video en inglés, vamos a ir a nuestra pantalla aquí en YouTube y vamos a buscar la herramienta de configuración en el lado derecho abajo. Tiene que aparecer esta herramienta. Si están en su teléfono, hagan clic en el video y les aparece la barra de herramientas. Vamos aquí a activar los subtítulos. Aquí los he desactivado, acá los activo. Y para seleccionar el idioma, voy a hacer clic en configuración, voy a ir a subtítulos y voy a poner auto translate. Me va a pedir que elija el idioma, entonces yo voy a poner español o Spanish, dependiendo cómo tengan configurado su canal de YouTube. Voy a poner Spanish y me está indicando ya que YouTube está agregando subtítulos en español automáticamente. Bueno, Víctor es un gran astrólogo, ha escrito varios libros ya sobre astrología, es un gran maestro de astrología, combina varias técnicas astrológicas. Entonces, bueno, sin más, vamos a arrancar con este gran video, que hace mucho tiempo quería hacerlo, obviamente, como siempre, con el fin de ser mejores personas y forjar mejores relaciones. Hi, everyone. We are here today with AstroViktor, Viktor from AstroViktor.com. We're going to talk about a very special topic for this year because, according to Viktor and many other astrologers, this is the year of relationships. Viktor, how are you?
Hey everyone, I'm very well, and thank you very much for inviting me on your channel. I'm excited to talk about to your audience about this topic.
I'm so happy that you're here with us. As I mentioned in the beginning, Viktor is a great teacher. I've learned so much from him, and for me, it is a real pleasure that he's here with us. Viktor, can you tell us a little bit about why you think this is the year of relationships?
There are loads of relationship indications going on. So the primary one is that the nodes are going to be shifting into the sign of Aries and Libra. Now, Aries is the self and Libra is the other self. So the continuation of the self, basically the partner who is holding us a mirror. But at the same time, we do have got Jupiter at the beginning of the year in the sign of Aries. It's going to make a conjunction to Chiron, which is very much about our self-confidence, so that we will be able to listen to others as well. And then the planet of love, the dispositor of one of the nodes, is going to be in the sign of Leo. And that's about flirtation and dating and having fun and on one hand, going back to basics as well. So this is the year for many who are single and want to find a partner, they have to be focusing on that. There are other indications as well, but these are the three major astrological configuration, which is going to be shaping our relationship with the world, with ourselves, and with our partners.
And Viktor, what do you have to say about the narcissistic traits in the chart or narcissism at all?
You know, there are multiple factors we can take into account, but I kind of try to pick the top three indications. So I think, first of all, we might want to be given an idea about what narcissism is. And there are different types of narcissism, but the primary narcissism would be about the inability to take on the perspective of another. It is kind of like believing that the world revolves around us, that everyone should be able to read our mind and should cater to every single whim of ours. Now, I think on one hand, you know, the primary indication is always going to be the rising sign and the ruler of the rising sign. We need to imagine that the rising sign is something to do with the first 18 months of our life. The first 18 months of our life is very moon related, because if we think about a baby, what they do is that they just cry, they eat, they sleep, and that's all. So they are so dependent on their mom. Now, that's interesting, right? Because the first house is the start of everything. And basically that's us being given birth to, but we are obviously very dependent on someone else. So the dependency matters are really a Libra element. I usually describe the 12th house as the preconditioning, what type of information we received from the mom while mommy was pregnant with us. So if we have got any planet in there, and then if we examine the ruler of the 12th house, if you don't have any planet, it doesn't mean that that area of your life is absolutely, you know, out of the picture. Then you're going to be looking at the ruler of your 12th house, and that is going to talk to you about what type of preconditioning you are going to be coming into this world with. What is your pre-concept? So to give you an example, you know, for example, imagine that you have got moon in the 12th house, in the sign of Capricorn, the ruler of that, Saturn, let's say it's in the sign of Aries, in the 3rd house. Now, what happens here is that the preconditioning of that moon is that, oh, mommy is going to be cold anyway. Mommy is working all the time. Mommy is going to be distant. But when I start analyzing the ruler, which is going to talk to you about why things are happening, maybe the 3rd house is that Saturn in the sign of Aries, mommy only talks about herself. Mommy doesn't care about, you know, what I'm doing. Mommy is just attending her own needs. Mommy may be comparing me with the siblings. They like the siblings more than me. So these are some of the preconditioning what we are born with. And what's going to happen eventually is that mommy is going to prove us right or wrong, mostly right. And the reason being is because whatever mommy is going to do, I'm going to pick up on traits where, oh, mommy's talking about herself again. How does she dare? So the 12th house is our pregnancies, how we felt in mom. And then once we come into the world, that's going to be more about you know, how we are going to be portraying ourselves, what type of mask and defense mechanism we put on our face, because obviously we already have got a perception how life is going to be like. So we need a mask to protect ourselves. So the primary focus, I think, in the narcissistic behavior is that the rising sign and its ruler is going to be attacked, no matter what. Maybe I tend to associate narcissism with Neptune a lot, and I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more. But basically, the rising sign indicates what type of mask we wear. And narcissism is a defense mechanism. I did not get enough attention when I needed that attention from my parents. So from a psychological development point of view, we can kind of classify the first 7 years of our life into 6, 7 stages. And the first stage is that 18 months when we are screaming to mom, I need food, I need to do this and that. So the moon placement is going to talk to you about how your mom listened to you in the first 18 months of our life, but also it's going to talk to you about what your expectations are towards your mom. What is the idealistic mom for you? So, for example, a moon in the sign of Gemini. Oh, I want mommy to talk to me. I want mommy to read me stories. I want mommy to, share how her day went by and so forth. And maybe moon is going to be in the 11th house, where I'm going to be expecting mommy to take me to the, playground and socialize with other kids and so forth. Now, if mommy is not doing those things, what we are expecting from her, this is a trouble. So what's going to happen at the end is that I'm going to start acting out. I'm going to be lashing out, which can lead to narcissism. Now, it's not always the case, though. So that would be the first 18 months of your life. So I'm just going to run through this quickly. By the way, the sun is going to talk to us about what is our perception about that. So typically the sun is extremely sensitive to the planets which are squaring or opposing the sun. So let's imagine that we have got a sun and Neptune square going on. What's going to happen there is that me as an individual going to be very sensitive towards the Neptunian side of the dad. So maybe Neptune is not being there. So daddy is always working, daddy is drinking, daddy is partying, daddy is going to, I don't know, traveling all the time, whatever Neptune actually represents. Daddy is too quiet, daddy is reserved. So we can be very sensitive towards those daddy traits. Now, then at the age of 2-ish, somehow we entered the oral phase of our life, which would pretty much talk to you about, obviously, you're going to start talking. You're going to start exploring the world a little bit more. You are actually going to be discovering your body. You realize that, hold on a minute, mommy is not actually me, and I'm not mommy. We are two different entities. And basically, we discover that we have got our own body. So this is a period of time when we discover our genitals, and we're going to start playing with those. Now, the primary narcissism is nothing to do with sexuality, but the secondary narcissism is so much to do with sexuality, where it pretty much talks about that I want everyone to serve me. I want everyone to, oh, it's just all about me. I don't really care whether it's pleasure for the other party and so forth. By the way, this phase of our life is pretty much ruled by a Venusian meta. So because on one hand, Venus, on the other hand, it's going to be a little bit more about Saturn, because this is also a time when we learn potty training. So potty training, often when there is a little bit of a trouble around potty training, then we're going to have issues with bosses. We're going to have issues with money. Because imagine what happens is mommy keeps telling you, no, you want to reach the shelves. No, you cannot do that. You have to hold your pee. You cannot poo. Wait a little bit. All those type of things. And then the baby's like, why is mommy keep telling me no? So my response to it is going to be, I'm going to say no as well. Would you like some carrot? No. And then, but yesterday you loved carrots. No, I never loved carrots. So the baby learns to say no to things. Now, this is very much of a Saturnian period from a control point of view. Now, typically, if we have got a Sun and Saturn hard aspect, or a Pluto-Sun hard aspect in our chart, actually, it could indicate that I look at dad as he is trying to invade my privacy with mom, because he's trying to break up our idealistic zone. So imagine a situation where daddy is, coming home from work. He kisses mom and sits down, gets a glass of beer or wine, a little bit of a popcorn, and then starts watching football. And the baby is like, Why on earth did he kiss my mom? My mom is mine. How does he dare touching mom? So there is going to be a jealousy build here. And this is going to be, by the way, from an astrological point of view, the Taurus and the Scorpio axis of our chart, pretty much the second and the eighth house.
Mhm.
Also, there is a little bit of a competition going on between the kids and the opposing, on the same sex parents. Because a woman is meant to be, a little girl is meant to be falling in love with dads. Now, if dad is not giving the affection, that is basically doesn't care, just switching or clicking the remote control, the baby is going to get disappointed. So we're going to start developing some narcissistic tendencies because I'm going to have to make sure that eventually I'm going to get the attention from my future husband or wife, the one which I did not get from dad. Obviously, this is also a period a little bit later on, but what happens is that, let's say a little boy goes into the bathroom with dad. So the little boy is going to start comparing himself with daddy. Oh, wow, daddy has got hair on his chest. I don't. Daddy has got a bigger willy. Daddy is bigger than me. So eventually the baby within a year realizes that I cannot compete with that. I'm never going to be able to get mommy as my wife. So eventually we're going to start comparing ourselves with our peers, schoolmates, and so forth. Obviously, someone we can, So here our self-esteem develops significantly. So if we have got very hard Saturn, Sun, or Moon aspects, especially, it could show that we are developing already some major, or Saturn in hard aspect, the second house ruler, that we develop some very hard self-esteem issues originated from this age of 2 to 5-ish, which can lead to narcissism.
Wow.
And then later on, when we get to about age of 6 and 6 and 10, sorry, that's going to be the school phase where Mercury, Jupiter plays a significant role with a dash of Saturn as well. So what happens here is that you're going to go to school, you're going to learn, but also you are not allowed to go to the toilet when you want to. You are not allowed to talk with others. You're going to have to raise your hands. There is loads of discipline going on. And you are receiving loads of information from the teachers. And Jupiter plays a role here because you're going to have to connect the dots. So fair enough, Mercury learns, Jupiter understands what they learned. So often a hard aspect between Mercury and Jupiter can indicate that, oh, wow, I'm not smart enough. Cannot really connect the dots. Everyone is better than me. I start getting compared to my sister who was a better student or to my peers. And then I kind of start feeling that I'm not smart enough, I'm stupid, and so forth. So we develop further self-esteem issues. So primary narcissism basically is formed somewhere in the first 7 years of our life. And we're going to be portraying that, projecting that onto our partners.
Wow.
So now, basically, any aspect between the first house ruler to the second house ruler can indicate, in my opinion, narcissism, hard aspect, oppositions, and squares. Typically, with oppositions, we don't even know that we are playing that role. The oppositions are unintegrated, typically, in our lives, and we are just receiving mirrors. So if we are not narcissistic, then we're going to be attracting narcissistic people into our life because they want to hold the mirror that, you know what, you have got narcissistic traits as well. You might just suppress them and you become a people pleaser. From a sign point of view, I feel like Aries and Libra have got big tendencies to become narcissistic and also a little bit of a Leo or Aquarius.
Oh, Leo and
Now,
Aquarius. Wow.
yeah, because Leo is basically the sign of ego.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the hardest aspect to the sun possibly is Neptune. One of the reasons why is because Sun would be ruler of Leo, Neptune would be the ruler of Pisces. Those two signs are actually having a quincunx, an inconjunction. They have nothing in common between them two. So that's a 150-degree aspect. And what happens there is that the Sun, who always wants to express themselves the way they are, and Neptune is trying to dissolve the ego. So often what happens with this combination is that we're going to come up with some, we call them as spiritual materialism or physical materialism or psychological materialism. But spiritual materialism is basically that we have got a belief system that certain temporary state of mind is a refugee from suffering. And we kind of hide behind spirituality. The physical materialism is that if I have got certain type of possessions, then it's going to make me happier. And the psychological one is that their religious or spiritual belief will lift my suffering and leads to some type of relief. Often, actually, it can lead to some type of competition as well anyway. Now, Neptune is the planet of guilt. So often we are struggling with some type of guilt complex with Sun and Neptune. I associate Neptune so much with the Cartman drama triangle, where there is the rescuer, the victim, the persecutor. The victim is, oh, poor little me, it's not my fault. The world is against me. I'm helpless. I'm hopeless, and so forth. And then eventually it leads to the fact that I want everyone to save me. And that's an indirect way of being narcissistic, right? Because I want all the attention on me. But it's a catch-22. At one point, we're going to start playing the role of the persecutor, where we're going to be critical, controlling, we're going to blame others, we're going to be aggressive, authoritarian people, we're going to be enforcing rules, and we're going to play the role of the superior, because we are trying to keep the victim oppressed. So imagine that I've sacrificed my life for you. I gave life to you. I didn't go to college because I gave birth to you, and I went to work so that you can have good education. So emotionally we start blackmailing kids and others. And then the third point of the triangle is when I try to rescue others. And oh, poor guy, he has got so much going on. Let me just rescue him. And it sounds nice. But unfortunately, Sun and Neptune does that typically because they want to be loved. They want that person to appreciate them. They want that person to hang around, to keep them around so that they have got someone to love. Now, you might see that if the self-worth is damaged, obviously we're going to try to keep the person around as long as possible because Neptune is about unity. I want to be one with someone or with the universe overall. Typically, Neptune, it somehow comes from guilt. So we have got 5 types of guilt. We've got the natural guilt, we've got the maladaptive guilt, we've got the guilty thoughts, and we've got the existential guilt. Often what happens is that, for example, I am guilty that I was born because poor mom suffered. Or we have got the guilty thoughts where we have got negative or inappropriate thoughts from time to time. Yet sometimes people develop feeling of guilt for having such thoughts as well. Or I keep thinking the bad things and I should be, thinking about positive ones and so on. So often the Sun and Neptune is that the parents are playing the role of the martyr. They are crying quite a lot. We feel betrayed by our parents. So we're going to get stuck in relationships where, unfortunately, the person is going to be narcissistic. And that's one of the ways how they're going to keep us around. Also, often the Sun and Neptune comes with the spoiled child syndrome as well, where, we are force-fed or we are given the best things ever all the time. And just imagine what type of message do we give to the child? Or, someone I dated, Viktor, can you chop up the tomatoes? I was like, sure, but can you not do? I never did it before. I was like, you grab a knife and you slice it up. You cut it in half and then you cut it half. And we're talking about someone who is 32 years old. And I'm like, okay, this is the spoiled child syndrome. But what is the message we give to the child? Don't do anything on your own. Someone else has to do it because you might hurt yourself. So eventually what happens is that we're going to somehow make our partner do these little things for us because it's kind of like a mommy's boy syndrome, I am incapable of doing certain bits and bobs. So we might be attracting again some type of narcissistic behavior. So primary narcissism in the psychoanalytic theory, the earliest type of narcissism in which the infant's libido is directed towards his or her own body and its satisfaction rather than toward the environment or the object. That's the primary narcissism. Now, very important to remember that when we don't recognize it as parents, for example, every single child is going to touch their private parts around the age of 3 to 5. So imagine a situation where mommy is going to be hitting your hand. Oh, don't do that. Oh, how guilty it is. And you're going to start building some guilt conscious about, oh, wow, masturbation is bad, or I cannot touch myself. So eventually, maybe the narcissism is going to be coming into the picture where we're going to be attracting a very sexual partner who just wants to be touched, but you are never going to get touched. So that's the primary narcissism. And often what happens is that we are compensating by crying or drugs or alcohol, or I want to be invisible. So if the sun is attacked by typically Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, or Saturn, the ego can feel small. Especially by Neptune, we feel threatened by the collective, by others, and then we're going to start compensating. We become way too generous, we become way too giving, but in return, I'm expecting some preferential treatment as well. Often, by the way, Neptune represents that I am afraid of falling into nothingness. And I envy something all the time in others. I envy their body, I envy their husband. I'm always craving and longing for something else what I have. It's the never being satisfied with something. So obviously my expectations towards someone are going to be huge. And the question is, will that person be able to live up to our expectations? And most likely not. Now, from a Sun and Neptune point of view, if the Sun is the stronger planet, meaning it's on an angle or in Aries or Leo, then it's more of the narcissistic tendency. If Neptune is the stronger, like Neptune being on angles or being in the sign of Pisces or mainly on angles or in an angular house, which is the first, fourth, seventh, and the 10th, then we become the victim here.
Okay.
So we can even kind of, look at whether you're going to play the role of the victim or you're going to be actually the narcissistic tendency.
So with that Neptune,
Go ahead.
With that Neptune tendency, do we become more like blackmailing people, like that type of narcissistic that's more towards emotion and towards like, if you don't do that, you're gonna die? Manipulative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emotionally manipulative.
I see.
Now,
Okay.
the root of the narcissistic behavior is that everything will end up humiliation, defeat, embarrassment, disappointment. Something will go wrong, something I have to give up on. But the sun is unwilling to lose or to surrender. It's arrogant. It's going beyond human limitations. It wants to prove the point.
Mm-hmm.
But then the sun says, oh no, we have to surrender. So we have got this subconscious battle going on in our minds, whether it's right or wrong. But if the sun is stronger, the sun becomes narcissistic, and I want all the attention basically on me. Now, there is the covert narcissist, which is a term to describe a person who has narcissistic personality disorder, which we shortly call as NPD,
Mm-hmm.
but typically doesn't display that grandiose sense of self-importance that the psychologists associate with this condition. So
Yeah.
often they appear shy and modest. They are the sneaky ones.
Oh
So
my
they,
God.
they are the ones who are in a sneaky way, they're going to make you do things what they want.
Like miserable.
Behind narcissism, it's always about entitlement and enviness. So
Wow.
I want something better and then I'm not getting it.
And that's why you
So
don't let others get it. No, it could also be at work, with this sort of like employees or people or even bosses that are like that, and they're blackmailing you, or they just don't let you take a step forward, and you can fall into this, and it can become an emotional crisis. I mean, really, this trait is everywhere. We see it at work, in relationships. We see it even with dictators, presidents. So I think it's very interesting, everything you're saying, Vic.
maybe a couple of other combinations. I mean, obviously without a full list, because
Mhm.
that would be a lot longer, kind of lecture. But often, actually, the North Node in the first house can actually indicate that too, because the North Node is a insatiable hunger. Or
Mm.
if we have got the North Node and the Sun in square or conjunctions especially, that could show us as well something, because we are here to learn to have a little bit more of an inflated ego. Now, if Jupiter is coming into the picture, let's say we have got a Sun and North Node conjunction being squared or opposed by Jupiter, oh, that could be a great example of narcissism, because Jupiter is growing the ego. The North Node, which has got that insatiable hunger to become who they are, to come to terms with their own personality, to be liked, to be cherished all the time. So that could be a indication too. I mean, yeah, we can have, maybe the sun on the south node as well, where it would really talk about losing a bit of the ego. Either we come with a lack of confidence, a low self-esteem into this incarnation. It really depends on the sign. Or we actually coming with inflated ego, and we're going to have to learn to take it a notch down. But either way, we are projecting something onto the other. Maybe we're going to become arrogant, or maybe we're going to be kind of trying to be superior towards others. And often the ruler of the rising sign having an opposition to Saturn can be an indication as well, because, as I said, oppositions are unintegrated part of ourselves. Opposition is a seesaw energy. So what happens is that the seesaw always tilts on one side, and Saturn wants basically a following the social rules, because there are rules in the world and they need to be followed. But then the ruler of the rising sign, or the rising sign itself, says, oh no, it's all about me. I'm the most important thing ever happened in this world. So which one is right? Which one is wrong? So we can have that type of debate. Oppositions are like an internal conflict within us, and it's so important that we embrace both of them at the same time. So I think these are some of the most important traits of narcissistic traits.
Well, first of all, remind people that Viktor is hosting a retreat about relationships in which we will be exploring relationships and dive into all the astrology about relationships. And this is one of the reasons why we also wanted to bring this video to be more aware of the relationships we're building and also the role we play in relationships, because we can all have a little bit of narcissistic traits, but luckily with astrology, we can spot those traits and actually navigate them positively instead of becoming that, dark shadow. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. And if you want to check out Viktor's retreat, go to his website that I will leave down below, all the information about Viktor, his website and his social media, the content. Also, you can see all the information on his website. It's going to be amazing.
We're going to have 6 days together. 5 days are pure astrology, and we're going to be looking at your relationship complexes. We're going to be looking at where problems are originating from and how we can replace them. So we're going to be looking at 1 day, which is going to be just all about timing of relationship, when there is time to break up, when there is a new partner coming into our picture. And then 4 days, basically working with your relationship complexes. And then 1 day is going to be about family constellation therapy, where we're going to remove these blockages. Family constellation therapy is a very powerful kind of like psychological method, and it digs into your problems within an hour or so, and we're going to try to sort that out there and then. Now, it doesn't promise that all your problems are going to vanish, but we're going to remove one layer. Often we need more sessions. Often one session is enough, actually. Depends on what type of topic we're looking at. So it's going to be an exciting retreat.
Yeah, I'm very excited also. So guys, go check it out. And also, maybe I just, gonna touch on some of the myths that are going around with narcissistic traits in astrology. And maybe you can tell me, if this can be the case or not. Strong Sagittarius people as, having this self-aggrandizing trait. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I do have 5 planets in Sagittarius. I don't think I'm narcissistic, but I do like things going my way when it comes to a relationship, that's sure. And I do like getting the attention, and I do love giving attention as well, because I expect them to give me some back too. So there is a selfish motive. So, but I don't think there is a person in the world who is not narcissist.
Right.
However, the level of narcissism, which we are kind of distinguishing here, and that's different. So definitely, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and that can inflate the ego. Jupiter shows in your chart where you are the most confident, for example, or where you need to gain more confidence in your life. Wow. So it can really inflate the ego. So absolutely, especially if Jupiter has got connection to the sun.
Another one that I found, it's an underdeveloped Capricorn stellium. What do you think about
underdeveloped Capricorn stellium? That's an interesting one. Now I'm just wondering why they came up with that. Capricorn is about shyness. Capricorn is about being reserved. And I would say, I kind of agree with that, but I did not see this as often. When it comes to Capricorn, their primary motivation in relationship department to get respect from others. So each sign can be kind of broken into some type of, let's put them in scripts. So I did run a 12-week course about the signs and their scripts and so forth. So when it comes to Capricorn scripts, it's kind of like the strict teacher archetype, where there is a hidden power hunger going on. The strict teacher, what I mean by that is that you know what? No one can get the best grade apart from God and myself. So I'm never going to give, let's say, grade 5, if that's the best grade in your school, to you, because that would be a sign of weakness. And I would tell you that you are as good as me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I met these type of teachers. There is definitely some truth to it.
Now, the other one I found, it says something like Pisces people are like tending to fall in love with narcissistic people, like most of
Oh,
them.
that's right. Absolutely.
Why
That's
is
right.
that?
I mean, as I said, Neptune and Pisces are the ruler of that drama triangle, what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to rescue others. Maybe I fall in love with a drug addict. I don't even notice that they are a drug addict. However, they do right in front of me. But I still believe that I can save them and they're going to stay with me forever. It's kind of like looking at a project, really. But then at one point, there is a wake up call. Oh, wow, why am I in love with a drug addict? Oh, am I stupid? He ruined my life. So I'm going to start blaming them for all the failure which I have done. So, yeah, Pisces, unfortunately, has got the tendency to attract narcissistic people because they feed from our weakness. Remember that narcissistic people are very weak. And Pisces
Mm,
is one of the most sensitive ones. So they can feed from you and they feel stronger than you.
mm. Yeah, unfortunately. And the last is more like a question, because sometimes I like to take into account asteroids. Do you think there's an asteroid called Narcissus?
I would say if it's on angles
Mm-hmm.
within about 2 degree or within 2 degree from your rising, sorry, the ruler of your rising sign, then absolutely.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that could show some narcissism. And there is another asteroid, Nessus.
Ah, Nessus.
Nessus
Yeah. So it's
came to my mind now.
Narcissus and Nessus that we should be looking at if you're
Nessus can
curious.
big time show that, yes. And I think one of the reasons why 2022 was the year of narcissism because Nessus and Neptune were in conjunction the whole year,
Okay.
around 17 to 23 degree of Pisces. They were traveling together.
Oh, wow. Add
So what
those.
happens with Nessus is that your partner's personal planets will trigger your Nessus. Now that's a big screen that they're
Mm.
going to take advantage of you. Nessus is narcissism, but apart from that, it kind of represents abuse, the abuse of
Ah,
your
I've heard
own
that's true.
power, abuse sexually. Even Dejanira can show that as
Mm.
well. Um, but that's more about being sexually taken advantage of.
Vic, maybe we can go ahead and look at the chart of some of these people that were labeled as narcissists by this political magazine. So we have here this very interesting article that I will share with you in the description. We have Donald Trump, we have Elon Musk, we have Meghan Markle, we have also Elizabeth Holmes, Sam Backman, and I think that's it. So why don't we go ahead and just, take a look at Meghan Markle's chart?
So,
Sorry.
as we said, one of the primary indicators is always going to be the ruler of the rising sign. So, it's worth having a look at what is happening with the rising sign and with the ruler of the rising sign. Now, straight away, we can see we have got a 24 degree of Cancer rising, and I knew it was going to be. I know her life, and I knew Nessus is going to be prominent here.
Oh,
And it
wow.
tightly conjuncts the rising sign. Now, it either indicates that she is abused
Mm.
or she is going to be an abuser
Mhm.
or both.
Mhm.
It could show that she is narcissistic or she is going to attract narcissistic people. It really depends on the position of the moon. Now, moon would be in the sign of Libra. Libra is one of the violent signs. So there are
Mm.
4 violent signs: Aries, Aquarius, Libra, and Scorpio. It's not necessarily a popular thing people know about Libra, but
Mhm.
Libra can get very violent. So this would show that she is a strong character here, and then it has got a conjunction with Saturn, which kind of would show that one of the parents there is very distant. Anyway, so that's one indication there. The next one, in my opinion, is definitely the sun. If the sun has got some very tight squares, oppositions, or conjunctions to Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, or Saturn, we don't necessarily see that. We might have got a wide trine from Neptune, but we don't necessarily see. So Nessus gives us a little bit of an idea here.
What about the trine between Sun and Dejanira, is her name?
I don't look at trines with the asteroids.
Only conjunctions.
I look at the hard angles especially.
I see.
Just because the trine and the sextiles are opportunities. So often we can choose whether we want that opportunity or not. Yeah. So I would be careful with the trine. But we do have got a wide square to Chiron as well. Now, Chiron in the 11th house would indicate stage fright. So I'm afraid of public's opinion. Now, Sun is in Leo, so this is a very strong Sun. It has got a very inflated ego, but it's hiding something with that Chiron. That is hiding insecurities in the sign of Taurus, where, you know, actually I'm not as confident being on the stage as I look like.
Oh, wow.
You know.
So interesting.
So we do have got a slight indication here, in my opinion. Also, as I mentioned, North Node can play with the Sun, quite a big role, but the Mercury is in between. So I don't necessarily feel like that's a conjunction there. But we have got Nessus on the rising sign. I think that might be giving us an idea.
Very interesting, Vic. Thank you. Just wanted to share with you guys.
Plus, Neptune has got an in conjunction to the rising sign. That's another, the 150-degree aspect.
Oh, that's true.
Now, that's always a difficult one. So we have got 2-3 indications here, which might be making her a little bit more narcissistic.
I see. So interesting. I wanted to share with people a little bit of an example so they can start, you know, looking at their charts and also getting a clue of how to spot these traits. So, Viktor, is there anything you want to add or announce? I know you also have a book coming soon, or you already published that? Can't remember.
It's being printed. I mean, it's available on my website, which is all about vocation, what your job is meant to be, what can you make money out of. And the second book is being edited at the moment. So, and that's going to be about a cookbook for aspects, basically.
Great. Awesome. For all of those who want to take astrology to the next level, if you are only learning the basics with the aspects, that will give you much more information about how the planets are talking to each other. So, Vic, it's been such a pleasure. You have enlightened us all with all this information. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you guys for being here with us. And don't forget to check out Viktor's website and all his courses. Thank you, Vic, and I hope to have you soon for another video. Thank you, guys, and see you in the next video.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.